You're listening to a 4x4 Radio Network podcast.
You leave that in. I'm really lost now. What did I do?
What you just said.
Oh, the Das Boopa did. Yes. Sometimes I'll leave them in.
Whatever. Hey, Jeepers. Welcome to another episode, recording, broadcast, whatever, podcast. Yeah, that's it, podcast of On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. I'm Kevin, the engineer, guy who reads instructions, uses the right tools, and generally follows those instructions. And across the table from me would be playing with his phone.
And I am Scott. I am furiously trying to find out what episode number this is.
Oh, okay. So you want me to stall in the meantime?
No, there's nothing to stall. I am the slapstick parts guy on a continual mission to not only derail my own train of thought, but poor Kevin's while we do this. And while we will always share what worked for us as well as what didn't, remember it's always up to you to do what you want to your Jeep. So do that research, read the instructions, and please follow them.
Follow him.
194.
Okay, so he's finally around to 184. Did you say?
194. Yes.
194. Okay.
Yes.
You'd think with these things on my head, I would actually hear you. I may need to up my volume slightly. Anywho, slightly.
Yeah, okay.
As he reaches grinningly for the volume.
Real quickly, though,
Yeah.
Paul Jordan, thank you very much, because he kind of realized, and he did the mathematating, our 200th show is probably going to come out on New Year's Day.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
That's like a mathematical.
Pure happenstance.
Yeah, so we have to smile the whole time.
So
Words.
we were just discussing before we hit the record button on this about what in the heck we're going to talk about. Actually, we knew what we were going to talk about, how we were going to introduce it. So we figured, well, we'll just go straight at it. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that I'm totally crazy, but it got close, and my wife joined me, is that as we record this, Hurricane Idalia was quite literally a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Wednesday, well, not last Wednesday. I'm sorry. So a week and a half. So that would have been the 30th. Mm-hmm. She kind of came in out of the Gulf and decided that she wanted to turn right, not at Albuquerque, but at Cedar Key, yes, and munch her way across the Florida-Georgia line. And thoughts and prayers to everybody out there. Yes. From Lake City, Florida, up all the way to Valdosta, Georgia. Yeah. And the interesting thing is, folks, is that something else was going on this past weekend, which I was at. I was attending the Sheriff's Jeep Fest up in Pickens County, Georgia. That's Pickens County Sheriff's. Yep. And I, too, crossed the Florida-Georgia line on Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah, this nutcase and his wife loaded up the Jeep on a trailer, only because it's one of my favorite events up there. And I always want to be able to somehow get home if I do something insane, which we will discuss later in the show. But I did get home. And while we were originally going to head north Wednesday, 1 o'clock, noon, a little after noon, I was watching the track of the storm, and I said, well, let's at least not be suicidal and wait till it crosses I-75. Right. Little geography there. You can look at from the Central Florida region, you either have your choice of going up 95 or 75. Mm-hmm. Pretty much those are your two choices. Yeah. So I was closer to 75 and decided, where Scott's closer to 95, that I'd go on up that way after she crossed the highway. Yeah. And so instead of 1 o'clock, I didn't leave till 3, and we rolled up through the aftermath. In fact, we were very fortunate, although we kind of missed out on our hotel rooms in Valdosta. That's why I know they were out of power, water, basically everything. Fuel was interesting, something I hadn't thought about. I left with a full tank, but usually somewhere around the Florida-Georgia line, I get fuel. Yeah. Proud to say that one of the Love's truck stops near Lake City, not exactly the Lake City one, but one of the nearer ones, has generators. And since they seem to have fuel available for the generators, obviously, it was mobbed pretty bad. And to see it truck pulling a flatbed trailer with a Jeep strapped to it. Everybody's kind of going, who is he?
Yeah.
But fortunately, everybody there seemed to want gasoline. And my tow rig is diesel. And there was very easy access to the diesel. And because they are a truck stop, their diesel storage capacity is quite a bit larger.
Yeah.
So we were able to top up with diesel, turn around, head north, find out that the hotel, who I was unable to contact and check to see if I even had a reservation, and no fault of their own, was, nah, you need to cancel. We have no water. We have no power. We have no air conditioning. We have no drinking. We have no shower, no hot water. I was like, okay. Long story short, my wife and I safely cleared the debris fields without any real big deal. And that is not to belittle what has happened to everybody there. We got a firsthand look at the damage. Was pretty horrendous to see what Idalia did to the area. So my heart and thoughts and prayers have gone out to those folks. And I hope that all is taken care of as quickly as possible. I will say that, jumping ahead, that on the way back home, power was on at every one of the exits, and people seemed to be in search of a normal life at that point.
Good.
But anyway, the downside was, of course, everybody that left out to get away from Idalia had every room all the way up until we were all the way up in West Macon before we got a room, which was a wee bit further than we thought we were going.
Yeah. Long day.
Long drive, long day, but made it. And from then on out, it became much more of a normal event. So what I think we're going to cover on this show is the kind of an interesting synopsis of spending the long weekend up in Pickens County, Georgia, just outside of Jasper, at the Pickens County Sheriff's Jeep Fest event.
Yeah.
And I could not make it to every single thing that went on. Like, we didn't make the show and shine that night, and the festival, because we were still out on trails. And then we had some special events and occurrences, all good, even though one or two of them had a little bit of a whoopsie moment, but we'll discuss that as we go along.
It's a slight spoiler alert. There's no sheet metal missing off slightly altered.
Oh, yeah, he went out and inspected.
Yeah.
But she is more brown than she is black finished, which she normally is painted kind of a...
You scared the Georgia clay right out of her. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but I'll start off by telling you that that dirty Jeep has already been washed off once.
Oh, geez.
So we're going to start off with a couple of things. Number one, before we even broke out of town here, as I'm getting ready, and trying to do my homework and trying to make sure everything's hunky-dory. We talked a little bit before. Scott helped me doing some rebuild on the flatbed trailer, putting a new deck on it and cleaned it up. And I was down to the point of, let me go ahead and pull the wheel bearings, because I've got the greasable systems in them where you can pull the cap off and start, just flushing it out with grease with just a grease gun. And the very first one I went to pull off, and the cap came off, and I looked in there, and it was like, oh, explicative deleted. This is not good.
Mummy dust?
Huh?
Mummy dust?
No. There's plenty of grease, but apparently the injection fitting, the Zerk fitting, was bleeding sideways. And so all the grease I've been thinking that I've been plugging in through the collar was filled in the cap, and nothing went back into the bearings.
Oops.
So I'm like, oh boy, let me pull off this whole side. Now, those of you that have worked on trailer drum brakes, you know what I'm getting ready to talk about. And these are 6-lug heavy duties, not the little lightweight ones.
Yeah.
And so you don't take it tire and drum off unless you're looking for a hernia. So we pull the tire off, roll it to the side, go pull the cotter pin, which had pretty well welded itself in the hole. First hint that this was not going to be a good answer.
Yeah.
And finally got all the pieces of that out, got the nut off. It came off without too much fight. Threads weren't too boogered up. And popped out the outer wheel bearings, and they were filthy. They were, black, but they looked like they'd clean up okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got to the back, put the nut back on with the old trick of you go ahead and just put the retaining washer and the nut on loosely, and then jerk real hard, and it'll pop out the rear bearing and seal.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew I got to go part shopping. The rear bearing. It's still sitting, inside the garage door, charbroiled. I couldn't have done more fun with that if I'd used an oxyacetylene torch.
Oh.
It'd been running dry for a while, looked at the race, and it looked like a lunar landscape. So it's like, okay, let me make sure everything comes apart, tap the races out. Needless to say, the inner race did not want to come out very easily. But I finally got it out, cleaned things up, went over to picked another wheel at random. It was better, but it was telling me a very clear message. You need to redo your all four wheels, bearings, races, seals, you name it. And I go back to my stocks and I'm like, okay, what do I got? Well, kind of, sort of, almost nearly didn't have anything for a trailer.
Yeah.
So I got to give a shout out to Pam at the Napa in Mulberry, Florida. It's down on 314 West Canal Street. Pam and Bill were working that day when I called, and I gave Bill part numbers. I had dug through the remnants of the bearings from the four wheels till I had enough that I could read a bearing number for each one, and race numbers and that kind of stuff. For those that don't know, not all the time do races and actual cones, they call them, the bearing part, come in a single kit.
Yeah.
It's usually separate. And I'm looking at, okay, I need 4 inner races, 4 inner cones, 4 outer races, 4 outer cones, 4 inner seals.
Yep.
And a Zerk fitting that started this whole fun for all. And they took that number, Bill in particular, started looking up the parts numbers that I gave him because, I didn't have enough time for Amazon. I needed it now. And he put in the legwork, called me back. He says, well, I've got something I want to send you. I'm going to send you a picture to your phone number. And it was a kit that I guess Napa sells and that they carried. And it's the inner bearing must be very common, 2 outer bearings and races each, and dust caps, seals, 2 seals, and 2 different seals, and like I said, a cotter pin.
Nice.
And for $59, which is about 2/3 of the cost of all the parts independently.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. So how many do you have? He said, I got 4 of them sitting here on the counter for you if you want them. I said, I will be there in 15 minutes. And they were great. Now, Pam, who I'd met before there, she's one of the lovely ladies working there. And I know she's a Jeeper. Yeah. And she was, I got to show you something. And she has taken her white Jeep TJ, added these rather interesting black spots. And I don't mean Dalmatian spots.
Yeah.
I mean Jersey cow spots, and changed out the horn on her Jeep. When she hits her horn, I was like, you got to be kidding me. She's like, nope. So we literally have a Jeep that, isn't having a cow, but is a cow.
And it's not afraid to tell you to move.
So, but if you do go to a Jeep event down here in the Southeast and you run across crazy gypsy tumblers, that is Pam, and you'll need to ask her, is her Jeep here? Go hit your horn. I've heard, somebody with a Tyrannosaurus Rex roar horn, and I've heard Auga horns, and of course I've heard train horns, even when I didn't want to. It's the first time I've heard a cow horn.
Yeah, no, that's kind of cool.
So again, to Bill and Pam, thank you again for that. You guys helped save my trip and get me out of here. And it was just a rather long day, but we got everything changed out, greased, and fitted. So that was awesome.
And it's to some people, like, I know Kevin and I know a couple of people are like, it's fine. Just go ahead and send it. It'll be fine. I don't want to take that chance on the side of the road.
No, we'll talk about that on the way back.
But the point is, though, is that I've seen too many trips to the Keys with the boat and the boat trailer wheel bearings.
And I really don't want to have it with my Jeep on the back. Yes, I have a recovery vehicle if I need one. But the whole idea is I-75 going through the heart of Georgia and Atlanta wanting to spin a wheel bearing. No, don't think so.
No. That's to do it a little, when I say the word comfortable, do it in the driveway where it's more comfortable.
Yep. So the event, as usual, was set up very, very well. We were able to actually get early registration pickup. We were pre-registered, but they did it I guess it was Wednesday night. Yeah, Wednesday night at the welcoming event, which I didn't make it to because I was, in West Macon at the hotel, collapsed.
Right.
And they also opened officially, I think it was from 3 to 5 at the event center. The vendors weren't there. They weren't there for 2 more days, but the staff had come out and were setting things up and were opening. And they actually got early, and they opened early. We rolled in about 4:30. I'm sorry, 2:30. And whatever, I'm off my hours. I apologize, but that's in the past.
You were on vacation.
And they were there, and they were quite happy to take our numbers and give us our stickers. And so we were registered and got ourselves tucked into our little cabin in Big Canoe, which we've done many, many times. Then the next day, Friday, it was the big day, it's like, okay. And we have a little policy. We've done this event for almost a decade now. And I like to do particularly the main trails on Friday because the attendance is not, it explodes on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And so we went out and did 3 trails on Saturday. Had a great time with them. They were really nice trails as usual. They walk that fine line between really challenging and dangerous, so you can go out and they've made it so it's really pretty, safe to wheel, even if you make a mistake. You can hurt yourself if you try, but if you have at least a moderate sense of what your Jeep's supposed to do, you'll do well. And we had a blast with it. Went with some friends here that had never been before, so we got to introduce them to the whole sheriff's event. And it was kind of sad because Scott and his group were not able to make it due to new job and leave and all the other stuff like that. So we were wandering around. I do have to pause here and give a shout out to Bill. Bill, you know who you are. You never bothered to tell me your last name, but I do know that you're a mechanical engineer from south of Atlanta, Georgia. And Bill ran into us when we were at the event center and introduced himself as we were packing up to head out. And he joined us as a third vehicle on the trails. And that's really not necessarily something that's a bad thing because going solo is kind of risky.
Yeah.
Because these are unproctored trails. You're just given a map that says go here. And you got somebody at an entry tent off the road. And after that, you're on your own. They did have some Jeeps set up in some areas, but Bill decided to tag along on quite a few of the trails and even joined us for lunch at the recipe box up there in Jasper, Georgia.
Sweet.
So, Bill, I hope you had fun, and it was nice to meet you. So that day, Friday, was a really awesome day. Now, I am going to pause here for a minute because that evening and the following morning, we kept getting notices that one of the trails that we'd already done had to be closed for emergency repairs. And folks, I'm sorry, I'm going to get on the soapbox for a minute here. It was bad enough this year that the Jasper Sheriff's Office had to post that please, please, please use 4-wheel drive. Quit. There's no reason not to use 4-wheel drive on a trail. Yes, I know there's an ego thing about, I can do it in 2-wheel drive.
Yeah.
But they destroyed the trails. Okay. They busted up one of the premier trails. And no, I don't know who did it, but it's sad that a lot of people had to wait. They did finally get it open Saturday mid-morning, but they lost some of the nice, cool hours. And, of course, when you pack a trail back in, it's never quite the same as it was originally.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this, folks. Please, we drive 4-wheel drive vehicles. They're 4-wheel drive for a reason. I'm not quite sure where the ego boost is. I can do it in 2-wheel drive. But you go up a hillside, spinning tires, bouncing and rutting, and you're destroying a trail for somebody else. It's bad enough at an event like Jasper where it's a limited time and the ground will recover. But if you're driving that way in public lands, you're going to be one of those people that get trails closed. Okay, because when trails become damaged due to the abuse of the people driving the Jeeps and other off-road vehicles, they're still closed.
Yeah.
And even if you're a good person and use four-wheel drive and drive conscientiously and protective of the environment, if you don't bring it up and look at somebody who's being an idiot tearing up the trail and say something, you're as guilty as he is.
Yeah.
We've got to get together, folks, and limit this. Tread lightly isn't just a catchphrase. It's a concept that you really, really need to embrace, or the trails will be gone. Okay. If you want to tear it up, there are plenty of areas. At this event, there's the obstacle course.
Yep.
And in fact, the obstacle course is there for you to tear up, to try and go up the hill, the rock-strewn hill in two-wheel drive, to go dive into the mud pit as deep as you want. They've got somebody that'll pull you out. You're not going to hurt anything. That's what the obstacle course is for.
And you got plenty of spectators to help out and prove your ego.
Oh, you better believe it. So, but that's it. I'll get off my soapbox. But it was very frustrating because we had a beautiful trail system. It was a very nice run. It was over an hour of crawling through the Georgia mountains and things like that, and it was fantastic. And to hear that, well, some wannabe, I don't know what you think it.
Some Yahoo being inappropriate.
Ruined it for a bunch of people.
I'll just tag on to what you're saying, because I know those trail systems up there, they are private trails that they open up to allow this event to happen. Right. Again, these are private trails. So, yeah, even though it's not necessarily, you might think, oh, well, it's someone's private property, they still have to maintain it. They still have to go in. This is where these own groups wheel their own time. It's like you're coming into someone else's house and kicking off your muddy shoes into someone's living room. Have that respect.
Yeah, have a little bit of respect that don't destroy their land. And I'm sorry that I stepped off on the side, but that was just a shock to me. I'm used to Mother Nature raining on it and making it muddy, and then they shut the trails down. But usually not our own Jeepers who go up there. And, this is a time we can't blame it on Toyotas, Hummers, Dodge trucks, Chevy trucks. It's us, folks. It's a Jeep-only event. Okay. If you want to do the mud bogs, go to a mud bogging place. If you want to do the gravel hill climbs, go to the gravel hill climbing track. You don't need to tear up a, natural event. That part of the charm is the fact that, yes, you're wheeling in places that most people can't go unless they hike. And we have permission. And we're going to lose permission if you keep doing that kind of stuff.
Well, even Windrock, they, from what I saw a couple of years ago, they bulldozed a trail because it was becoming too much of impassable and too many vehicles getting damaged. They bulldozed it. And I know a lot of people complain, oh, now that trail is not going to be the same anymore. What else people doing?
It wasn't the same what it started with.
Because you're doing things you shouldn't have been doing is what started and caused that, But again, I understand the challenge.
Yeah. So now I'm going to get to the special.
Okay.
This is something I told Scott I wouldn't tell him about. But it's going to start off with a shout out, because we got up early Friday morning before the trails opened, because the people that were there with us, I'll just say Robert and his wife. Well, actually, I don't know. And he told me that there was a place they wanted to go just outside of Jasper on the main road. They'd been there the other day, and that they had special T-shirts and a few other things going. And so they took us out to, you owe it to yourself to stop into the Appalachian Gun and Pawn Shop. They are on, I really don't have my good glasses on here, so give me a half a second here in our usual really well pre-planned.
Grabbing of the magnifying glass.
He's 140 Shelby Lane in Jasper, Georgia. You can also get to them at www.appalachiangun.com. And stop in. I think you'd like their shop. We thought it was really, really neat. It's got an old front porch and sitting places, and it's still a work in progress a little bit. He still got his tools out there, was doing some finish work.
There you go.
But you won't meet nicer people, and it's really a great locale. So, yes, and like I'm saying with any of these non-sponsored here, we're just talking to friends now.
Yeah, just and let them know that you heard about on the podcast, because one of the things that Kevin and I always enjoy about, again, events like Jasper and everything else and Jeep Beach and things like this is that it brings in money to the community.
Yep.
And it helps out those small businesses. As we all know, small businesses, are the lifeblood of this country.
They are.
And so, take that few minutes out and say, hey, I heard Kevin and Scott talk about you guys.
Yeah. So now, the next day, let's go on into the next day. We went back and crashed, and, we got dinner, which was...
Wait, you crashed? I'm sorry.
Into the bed. Nice try.
Dun, dun, dun.
Then we headed off to start Saturday, and we started Saturday early to get a T-shirt.
Of course.
Because they just started selling the T-shirts. So we got our commemorative Jasper T-shirts. I swear my huge collection of Jeep T-shirts now has more Jasper Sheriff Jeep Fest in there. But anyway, and then went around the vendor circle, which was pretty good this year. Some of you guys are missing out on this. There was a huge turnout. I think that they said that there was over 2,000 registered Jeeps and probably another grand or so more of walk-ins. So, there was a whole lot of smaller vendors this one. So if you like to pick up small businesses, that's kind of fun. I got to give a special shout out to one of the local shops there that's in Ball Ground, which is just outside of Jasper. It's actually probably bigger than Jasper. But anyway, Outlaw Off-Road is based there, and I met a couple of great guys there, and they talked about it. So, if you need Jeep service, everything from suspension and lifts and tires to fabrication and accessories, you can check out Outlaw Off-Road up in Ball Ground, Georgia. Big shout out to them. They were fantastic. Another one that you're going to hear more about here is I met folks from American Iron. Cool. And American Iron has a product that I hadn't seen before. Scott tells me that it does exist here in Florida, in as much that somebody's using their product here in Florida, one of the shops we work with, so I'll be talking to him. But for those in the tech side, the Dana 30s and Dana 44 axles, and even some of the Dana 60s and others that use ball joints, use a floating upper ball joint, which is a problem we have with wear because the load's carried on the lower one and the upper one just kind of floats wherever it lands when you put it together. And therefore, they don't really help with stability as much as they could. Yeah. And if you've heard of Kingpin conversion kits, that's what they make. But their Kingpin conversion kit is a little different in that they do come with a spherical bearing and then the bolt type kingpins, but theirs is non-greased. Theirs is run dry. They use a polymeric bearing in the thing that's easily replaced. Not even major tools required to replace them when they do wear out. And then the upper is now adjustable. It uses rather than a bolt, a threaded section and a nut. So Sweet. You can tension or detension as needed to get the best handling. You can get it a little looser if you want freewheeling and quick steering. If you want a little more road manners with just a little more drag on it, you can add the drag. I'm not telling you anything positive or negative about them. I saw them. I think it's a neat idea. In the future, I will be looking into them, and I may get a set and throw it on Slightly Altered because she has been known to eat ball joints. Just a little bit.
Crunch.
So, be interesting to maybe give that a try. And if you want me to sooner than later, send us a message. Facebook us. Send us an email, etc. And we will. I'll look into maybe bumping it up in priority because right now the priority will be when she starts to wander on the road again, which can happen.
Yes,
can happen. So we finished the event center and went wandering around for lunch. Susan and I stopped into a neat little shop that another one of these neat things you'll only find in Jasper, Georgia. We met Bill Scurry of Jasper Antiques and Things. And it is exactly that, antiques and things. He has taken over one of the buildings in downtown Jasper. It's 3 floors of everything you can imagine, including a back lot outside. And when we say and things, well, of course, there was china, there were glasses, there were artwork, There were little cutesy things that craft people make, little wall hangings and knickknacks you put on your things. And then you go down. Oh, but wait a minute. There's antique furniture. There's not so antique furniture. There's some really rough furniture that would look like a good project for somebody. Oh, what's that over there? Old toys and games and
Sweet
collectibles. And then you go, okay, well, that's kind of neat. Oh, there's kitchenware stuff too. Oh, look at that. There's some china, but there's some plasticware. There's and things. Then you got down, he says, oh, you got to go down to the third floor. How about a 1930s dental suite? Complete with the old drill with the little stringy thing that goes around carrying the power from the motors and the
nice.
chair and potbelly stove, all rusty. My God, there's a 1930s rear axle assembly with the power tube up to the transmission off an old Ford. And then, oh my goodness, there's a Dodge. And it was just there's a beekeeper suit hanging on the rack.
A very eclectic.
You looked out back and there was all kinds of old farm implements from horse-drawn to early tractors.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, it was cooler than you know what to walk around this place. The only problem was some of the stuff down in the old bin, I knew what it was. I guess that puts me down in that third floor bin. But again, I'm bringing you a little feedback of some of the highlights and the really unique, fun things. So if you find yourself in that northwest corner of Georgia, check out Jasper Antiques and Things. It's a place that your wife can stay on the upper floor. And you can go down, or this may be the wife who wants to go down to the Jeep parts. He just had all kinds of things. And he himself used to work for a company that designed and built off-road training centers, primarily for teaching people how to drive Hummers, the H1s.
Nice.
But he also did some work with the military on the Humvee, which of course is an H1 on steroids. But he also had some run-ins with Jeepers and stuff like that. And so he's a funny guy to talk to, great information, a really neat kind of shop. So, he's up there on, what is it here? Eyeglasses again, 14 Mark Whitfield Street in Jasper, Georgia. And you can get to him at Jasper, Georgia. That's Jasper, GA Antiques, all one word, at gmail.com. That's his email address. So it's kind of a neat thing. So that was a lot of fun. We also did our obligatory trip to Bert's Pumpkin Patch. Which is out by Amalacola Falls.
Yep.
And the falls were fantastic this year. They were absolutely. I'll put some pictures up on our Facebook page as soon as this drops, this show drops, because we actually had water, but it wasn't raining when we were there. Because we've had water before, but it's been raining, so you couldn't get there from here.
Yeah.
This year we knew better than to try and use the staircase, so we drove to the top, walked to the top, then drove to the midpoint, walked to the midpoint, and drove to the bottom.
There you go. There's nothing wrong with that.
So we did the obligatories, and then did a little bit of wandering. We didn't make it to Helen this year. We didn't make it to a lot of the other spots because we were going back wheeling.
Yeah.
So Sunday, I guess the last thing we did Saturday was a Saturday evening is we took Robert and Christy to the Jeep Trail.
Did they bring Dirty Penny or Lucky?
They brought Lucky Penny.
Lucky Penny? Okay.
DP's still sitting there waiting for repairs after the last run that they made. And that's his, we've talked about the build that they're doing. But so then we headed on off for, actually, I take it back. I forgot one other thing that we did on Saturday. A very kind person up in Jasper that we met who lives up there and lives very close to the event. As Scott mentioned earlier, that we have a whole bunch of people that are opening their land.
Yeah.
And he's not there yet. This gentleman is not there to opening his land to everybody. But after we chatted with him, he said, look, you guys want to go up? Just two of you, the two Jeeps. He said, here's the address. Feel free. 300 acres of land. Some of it former marble quarry.
Wow.
The old rail tracks for the trains that used to haul the marble blocks out run through his property. And the bridge abutments are blocks, big, huge blocks of what they call waste stone that was around the quarry. It's marble and granite mixed. And So we're just like, well, okay. He says, lots of creek crossings, lots of that. He said, the only warning I got you is I'm not there. So don't get stuck.
Yeah.
And even Robert, who has Onyx, was like, this isn't on Onyx. And therein, we went out and we started following his trails. And it was awesome. It was incredible. It was beautiful. He owns from the bottom of the valleys to the top of some mountains. Very kind gentleman. I would have loved to share the name and give him thanks, but he'll know who he is. I don't want him swamped, so don't worry about it. I'm not even going to tell you where it is. But this is the kind of attitude that we had up in Jasper. People in the community were very welcoming and very positive. The key point to point out is that for the first time in almost 10 years of going to Jasper, and not on their trails, but on this private land, slightly altered, got stuck.
Oh.
And I don't mean got stuck. I mean got stuck. As in my driver's front wheel disappeared. Now, in all fairness, we weren't really on any of the trails.
You were in the Waffle House parking lot.
No. No, worse than that. Think about it. You got a bulldozer, and you're clearing land, and you're making trails. What do you have as a result of that?
Ruts.
Well, you have a lot of stuff that you pushed out of the trail.
Okay.
What do you do with it? You push it over the edge of a hill. Robert looked at me. He says, "You feeling lucky?" And I looked at him and I said, "Not particularly, but I have a winch." He made a left turn, literally, and we went down the rubble. Now, Robert made it all the way on 37s and a modified JKU. No, JK. We started down. We got halfway down just fine by staying in my own lane. I did not want to get in his tracks because he's on 37s. Slightly on 33s.
Well, now more like 32s. After
Probably. Unfortunately, there was a stump or something under the very loose debris. There was lots of branches and mud and dirt and gravel. And we had that sickening slide to the right. And it was not that, 70s and 80s song, slide to the right. Clap your hand
to the crunch.
And she went boom. And that sickening feeling as the nose went down on one side. And I'm like, oh boy. So I tried to ease on power, and all she did was dig and drop another inch or two. And I was like, okay. Tried backing up. And to Slightly Alter's credit, with all four wheels locked and the diff in low, she backed up about 6 inches. But as I went forward, she dropped another inch or two deeper. And I'm opening the door going, okay, I'm up to my rock sliders. Let me turn the system off before I open the door. I'm like, I don't know if you're going to see me when I step out the door. Fortunately, I was able to get out and throw Robert the winch line. And I have a lot of winch cable on, which is really good because I got all the way down to the bottom wrap.
Oh.
And then he says, "So you want me to pull you out?" He says, No. We're not going that bad. We're not giving up yet. I says, "I need either a tree or the back of your Jeep." He says, "Well, it's cleaner if I just drop it on the back of my Jeep." So he put it on one of his tow hooks. And I just started winching myself out. And so I managed. It really only took me about 6 feet of winching till I crawled out of that particular sinkhole. And he was laughing because he's going, "Yeah, I remember feeling that sinkhole." I said, "I tried to not follow you."
Yeah.
But she came back up and out. I did have to stop and get a piece of wood, from one of the trees and dig out the front end enough so that I could actually even see my hubs and the valve stems. Nice. That was a solid disc of mud. And there's no question about it that for those 6 feet, I was sliding on the belly pan. I was not using the tires on the driver's side.
Yeah.
But once she came back up, we wound the lines in, and I drove out. So technically, I don't know. Does that count as a stuck if I pulled myself out with my own winch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't get out under your own power. We had to get out under your own winch.
Technically, I generated the electricity in the battery. Hey, I'm trying here.
Hey, no, it's fine, man.
It's all about, the point is we had a blast and recovery was fine and the Jeep was not damaged. And we just proved that there is a point, I wanted to see how far I could push 32s. Yeah. I've gone through 2 sets in almost 10 years, and this is the first time that they, literally let me down. And you could see there, I'm sure by now a rainstorm or two has kind of filled that back in. But later on, we talked to the owner and he just laughed. He says, that was not part of the trail system. And Robert said, well, we're sorry. He said, no. If you wanted to try it, that's fine. He said, so you guys made it out. Yeah, we made it out.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. I said, sorry, we probably left a little extra mud on your gravel road that led to the place. But the individual was fantastic. And I can't thank him and his family enough for sharing access to that land. And it just goes to show just how beautiful that part of Northwest Georgia is. It's fantastic. So my hat's off to them. And a deep appreciation again.
Yeah.
So let's see. Moving on. Oh, the other thing is that while we were wondering, I do have to give a shout out to the MC. Mm-hmm. Now, folks, it's not often that you're going to hear us because we're in the talking business, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I've been to many events where, the guy cut his back here and he's like, well, now we're going to have everybody get out and head over to the. No. Shane Godfrey. He was the MC at the Sheriff's Jeep Fest at the event center. And I will tell you, if you get the opportunity to go to any event that Shane is MCing on, you will not be disappointed.
No.
It was absolutely incredible. The man has a delivery that is fantastic, and he goes a step above. Most MCs are standing on a stage.
Right.
Or they're up in the little booth where they can see the thing, and then they try and give you the play-by-play.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that Shane didn't stop there, but he had a mobile wireless microphone system in a golf cart.
Sweet.
And he was running all over both the obstacle course and the vendor areas and was just having a blast. So, when somebody got stuck in the mud pit, he's right at the edge of the mud pit and he's cheering them on and he's really into it. Mm-hmm. And he made the event so much better because you got to hear it almost like, the old 70s, Chopper 9 in the air above the freeway. He's buzzing around to everybody. Yeah, the
Jasper Traffic with Gary McHenry.
Yeah. So Shane, thank you very, very much. And we will be talking to you because I'd love to talk to you some more. But Shane Godfrey, MC, he is available at MC at thedjgadget.com.
That's cool.
And, it's an incredible guy. He's got really good stage patter, and I really would love to take Scott and him and throw them both in a room and close it and put microphones in there. It would probably be a blood fest.
Easy. No, it'd probably be a pun fest.
Oh gosh, yes, one pun after another.
If we keep it up, they'll put us in the penitentiary.
Okay, you're just warming up. I'm going to call Shane, get him on the phone and say, hey, Shane, help. Next time you try to sync me. So we got on to Sunday was the last day.
Yeah.
We did hit a few things as far as, a few wrap-up trails, a few other things like that. Did another round at the vendors, checked on our vehicles, that kind of stuff. And really there's not a lot to add other than, folks, if you're anywhere in the Southeast at Labor Day, mm-hmm. This is an event that is worth going to. It's all about the wheeling. Yes, they have a nice vendor areas, but they have a great obstacle course. Got lots of entertainment there, lots of mud flying when it needs to fly, lots of vehicles on the rock, and but the trails and the Georgia countryside, that's the true star of this event.
Yeah.
And the fact that so much of Jasper County has opened their lands, their gates, for lack of a better description, to allow us to go in there and play as we want to play and actually enjoy what we want to see. Some of the areas we went through, one of them that's actually what do they call it? A primitive campsite. J19 is what it's called.
Okay.
And you crossed water 6 or 7 times of varying depths. You climbed mountains. There's one that you got on the trailhead by climbing up a very steep, rocky incline with a switchback in the middle of it. And the fact that somebody didn't have his lockers on, had a little trouble at that corner, had to roll back and, oh, wait a minute, click, click. And then we went right on up.
Yeah.
But, and lots of literal cliff hanging as you're driving around through the mountains, down the ridges, side hilling. It was just incredible. Mm-hmm. My hat's off to Donnie Craig, the sheriff up there, and his group, and the citizens and residents, obviously, of the Jasper County region who opened their hearts and their land to a bunch of crazy Jeepers. It was a blast. I will be doing it again.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of hoping next year with the now that I have vacation time, and I got to think about when that happens, because again, it was dangerously close to the first of the month for me this year. I'm hoping next year it's not. Well,
it's
much.
Always over Labor Day weekend.
It's always my birthday weekend.
Yeah, it always is.
Yeah.
Remember, because we used to celebrate that occasionally in there, trying to embarrass Scott. That's tough to do, let me tell you.
Oh no, I got my just desserts this past birthday.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I run a little D&D side group, and basically everyone was dressed in a onesie like their character.
Oh.
So I come home after my friend distracts me to Autumn in a cat onesie, her friend in a dragon onesie, her daughter in a cat onesie. The son-in-law, he is full dressed up, looking like a character out of Lord of the Rings with the ranger bow hunting and all that. And I walked into that and went, okay.
Did I walk in the right house?
That's pretty much. I'm like, it was like half between a furry and a D&D convention. I just didn't know what to do there for a second. But it was a good time.
Ah, well, that's good.
But I do want to take a quick moment to thank all the listeners who reached out to want to make sure we were okay with the storm.
Yes, thank you very much.
I was fielding those calls because Kevin was fielding the Jeep up onto the trailer so he could leave.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
But again, we really appreciate everything, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. But again, I don't know. That's just kind of a wrap on this show. No damage per se. Mm-hmm. There were a few things was slightly altered because that did get used and used hard. Partway through, well, here's a short that I'd completely forgot about, but I will bring up that occurred up there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, we always talk about, we'll share with you what works and what doesn't.
Right.
This is classically the latter. And Scott's sitting here going, but this was in preparation to go. I was still looking at my phantom power draw that I had. It's one of those tougher things to find. And I don't remember if I covered it in the last show. If I did, I apologize. But I did discover that it was actually my rolling charger that can, when I flat tow the Jeep with a inertial braking system on it, it keeps the battery charged off of your tow vehicle. And turns out that if you leave the module connected, okay, well, it's a Bluetooth item. It's transmitting constantly. It's on. It never goes to sleep. And it uses a 10 amp fuse. Now, it doesn't draw 10 amps, but it's still the couple of amps. And to do that, I went through the classic of checking each of the fuses. Well, what went wrong? Somebody was tired, not paying attention, and didn't put all the fuses back in the correct openings. Whoops. And of course, the fuse for the headlight system and the fuse for the, if you have one, I don't, rear defroster are labeled similarly, non-descriptive letters. BLSL, BIZ, whatever.
Yeah.
And apparently I put the headlight fuse into
the defroster fuse.
Jeep runs fine.
Mm-hmm.
All your marker likers go on, your turn signals turn on, your dash lights work. There's no error messages. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. People, watch this because you'll get, if you do it, there is absolutely nothing to tell you that you don't have headlights. Until you're at dinner.
Oh, no.
The first night, and it's dusk. and the lights are going down, and you hit your lights, and nothing in front of you suddenly starts to be visible.
Did you turn your fog lamps on to get you home?
That's exactly what I did. Fortunately, I have those LED floods that are bright enough. And in fact, we drove through a police checkpoint and nobody even questioned the fact that I had no headlights because the fogs were running so bright.
It's a Jeep. It's something that's broke. It's fine.
And I'm panic struck. I'm going through everything going, what the heck, the who, the he, and we get back to the cabin we rented, and I'm online trying to figure it out. And I finally go out and get the book. And yes, folks, 2005 Jeep TJ, I still have the book in the glove box. And I start looking through, and I see the fuse thing, and I said, okay, I finally see a small indication of an asterisk on the fuse that I have in there with its little weird thing. And it still hasn't told me what it is until I finally read that asterisk, and it says, rear windshield defogger, if equipped.
Ah.
Well, where's the headlights? Oh. And the best part of it is that I shattered the one fuse because it's these high amperage maxi fuses, and I had to use my spare, and then the headlights is a 40 amp fuse. Fortunately, my spare is a 50. So I put it in the correct slot and moved everything back around to where it says the book should be, and lo and behold, ta-da!
You have headlights.
I have headlights.
Woohoo!
What a novel concept.
You lost your rear window defogger, though.
You never had one.
I know.
So, yeah, that's one of the cases where Kevin didn't follow the instructions quite right, and it bit me. Fortunately, I had an auxiliary lighting system. Very nice of Jeep to put the fog lights on a separate 20 amp circuit than your headlights, so you can recover from a no headlight situation and not be totally driving in the dark. So yeah, that was one of those little whoops. It happens.
Yeah,
it happens. So with that, I guess we've probably covered this subject to a painful level. I hate to end on a negative spot, but I had a lot of fun.
Well,
I had a lot of fun.
Do you want to talk about the event you had on the drive home?
Oh, I suppose.
I mean, that was kind of in a positive light because the guy helped you out.
Well, yeah, that's a very good point. So last shout out. This one's going to sound a little weird, folks, but to Georgia Department of Transportation, GDOT. They have road rovers or whatever you want to call them in your state. But the guys who drive around in pickup trucks and do nothing more than drive the heavy freeways and look out for people who have, explicative deleted moments. Which I had at 70 miles an hour coming down I-75 south of Atlanta, somewhere not too far from Tifton. That's down South Georgia, where all of a sudden, like the old 70s songs, that right rear highway started to whine. Mine didn't bother with the whimper. It just went boom, blah, 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 blah. As I looked back in my mirror to see the right front tire of my trailer divest itself of much of its rubber tread, air, steel beltings, etc. Fortunately, there was nobody to the right of me. I was in a center lane because, oddly enough, the left lane was really rough, and I was trying not to beat myself.
Nice.
So we got over safely to the side of the shoulder and rolled on up a little bit on the, not on the rim. I still have enough of the tire left to tell you it's a tire. I can't read any of the lettering on it, though.
It's a Napoleon tire.
So I'm going, I have a spare. I have jack. I have tools. Okay. It's just I'm on the freeway side, so I crowded over as much as I could. And as I'm getting my stuff out, I look back and I see the nose of a white Ford pickup come in, and all of a sudden I see the big placard go, and it's the arrow sign.
Yeah.
And it's a Georgia DOT. And an older gentleman gipped out. I can't really call him older. He's probably younger than I was, but he was doing the Grizzly Adams thing a little more than I do. And he comes walking over, and he looks at it, and he says, "You all right?" And I says, Yeah. I said, "It just blew a tire." I said, "One of those bangs." He goes, "Yep." And I'd had my jack out, and he goes, "Oh, you want to do it the easy way?" Yes, sir. What you got? And he says, he pulls out literally a homemade or shop-made ramp jack. And if you guys have multi-axle trailers, you know what I'm talking about. You roll the good tire up on this ramp, and it lifts the bad tire up so you can change it without having to get on your hands and knees. And not only did he do that and have me back up onto it, I looked over there, and he's got an impact gun, electric impact gun in sockets, and he proceeds to take my blown tire off for me while I go take the spare off the tongue. And then he just said, I'm sitting here. And he went ahead and he put the tire on for me and tightened it up while I put the shredded one on the trailer tongue and bolted it down, trying not to get stabbed more than 5 or 6 times by all the steel wires coming out. So nothing really technical about that. Just a huge shout out to the South Georgia Department of Transportation drivers and the fact that they're doing their job and they did it fantastic. And I never did get the guy's name, but thank you very much nonetheless. It was a wonderful service, and it turned what could have been a little bit of a PETA trying to do this tire change on a hot afternoon in heavy traffic, because everybody going back home after the hurricane was on the road south. And he got me taken care of, and then he used his blinker board to get me a lane even to merge on. So I was very appreciative of that. So hats off to the Georgia DOT.
And I'll just add a little more to that. When you see those guys on the side of the road helping somebody out, try and get the lane over if you can, or at least slow down. I know
it's law in Florida, but not in every other state. So please try and give them a lane. You know, as they say, give them 8 feet if you can.
Yeah.
So, and then with that, we just rolled on back down and moseyed our way. You know, once I got into Florida, I could start breathing a sigh of relief. You know, at least if I was broken down, I had the right tag. And we made it home, still in daylight, so that was pretty good. And it's a long drive to do it from Jasper all the way down in one day, but it's about I'm going to say 11 hours or so,
least,
11 to 12 hours. You know, we did on the way up. We didn't on the way down, but on the way up, we did make the obligatory stop for Buc-ee's just because we could. And it's nice for me because Buc-ee's has something that a lot of stations don't, and that is you have diesel pumps with DEF dispensers. So you can fill your DEF tank up as well as your diesel tank and really just go into complete debt. That's always one of those shockers.
And that's why I'm driving the Corolla today.
Yeah, I know. I went over
$22 to fill up, and I'm still on full.
Oh, I'm going to slap you so hard it's going to...
Hey, whoa. An entire year coming over here in that Gladiator.
No.
That was $68 every 2 days.
Well, I just went out. That's kind of funny, folks. I got home, and of course, with Adelia and all of her rain that did fall here, and even some of the wind, I don't think I'd have walked barefoot through my lawn because I wouldn't be able to see where I was stepping. You know, who knows what kind of creepy crawlies might be out there. And out back, oh boy, it was in reproductive self-seeding for the whole area.
Bring some of this to my house. I got that front dead spot where the new septic tank went in.
So, I went out and started cutting grass. But to do so, because of everything leading up to this trip, all of my gas cans were empty.
Oh, so you look like that guy.
So 10 gallons of gas and 10 gallons of diesel, and I'm $160 poorer.
Oh,
ouch.
You know, it's so funny you talk about the diesel. Again, people who live here in Florida understand this. I have 2 5-gallon water buckets that I use for the cooler, the water cooler in the house that we use for one, cold water when we want to drink it, and 2, it's directly has the dog well underneath it.
Yeah.
And of course, it's always right before the storm that I run out of both of them. So I'm the guy standing in front of the machine to get 2 5-gallon buckets, and everyone's looking at me going, "Gee, man! All of a sudden you need 10 gallons of water when all you drink is soda."
Yeah,
and it's always right before the storm.
Of course.
But so I was like,
one would think you'd invest in just an RO filter for the house where you could fill your own buckets.
Yeah, we'll work on that. I got lots of projects to work on. We're fine.
Like I don't have everything, and that's going to be the next shows. We'll start getting back into the normal tech stuff.
Exactly.
I've got to help on an LS swap again coming up here, trying to debug some issues and learn some new stuff already. And We'll talk about that. And my other project that I teased you on before got slightly sidebarred, both because of this event, a hurricane, and take one just didn't quite turn out exactly as I hoped.
No, but eventually you'll steer yourself in the right direction.
Oh, I will. It'll all come together and
exactly
get stitched up tight.
Exactly. Leather you want to or not, eh?
something like that. But I'm learning a new skill, with a special piece of equipment right behind Scott's head.
Exactly. So,
yeah.
On that note,
Sonata.
Wait, are you using a Hyundai?
No, but it's, well, maybe it could be. I don't know. I didn't check. Anyhow, I think we've wrapped this one up. It's been a long one.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
nice. That was good.
That was unintentional, but okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll take it.
I think it's time we lock the Jeep, put the hubs in 4 low and hit the trail.
I'm going to unlock it to get in. Let's try. Lock the hubs.
Lock the hubs.
I did plenty of that.
Yes.
And that was the fun part, was unlocking hubs after that stuck trail. Going, where's my hub? Which way do I turn? Where's the hand grip?
Meanwhile, you're going.
Yep.
Yep. You get that nice musty wood
decay
smell. Yeah.
So,
speaking of septic tanks, moving on.
I'll let you talk about your septic tank on the next show.
No, we're fine. That was
Scott just had a whole field of dreams.
No.
Oh, we got to cut this off.
That was so. And with that, folks, get you on episode 195 coming out here sometime soon. And with that, have a wonderful day.
Oh, catch my breath. We'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Proceeding has been provided for entertainment only. Proper service and repair procedures are vital to the safe, reliable operation of all motor vehicles, as well as personal safety of those performing those repairs. Standard safety procedures and precaution, including the use of safety goggles and proper tools and equipment, should be followed at all times to eliminate the possibility of personal injury or improper service which could damage the vehicle or compromise its safety.
What he said. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been a Bent Axle Media production.